Hello and welcome to this ueGear to mGear workflow overview. Here I have this sample character, the butcher boy, and we're going to use that to show you all the workflow and how we can transfer the skeletal mesh, how we can transfer animation, how we can later edit this animation back in Unreal with the control rig and so on. So let's start by generating from scratch the rig. I have already prepared here the scene, so I'm just going to delete the geometry and the rig itself. I have here my guide, and as you can see, the guide, if we check the settings, I already have set up this post-build data collector. This is the data that we're gonna collect after the rig is built to regenerate the control rig inside Unreal. That's very important. So here I'm gonna collect my data on my work drive, mGear projects, control rig, butcher boy, and mGear data version 3. I have been doing some tests. This is gonna be version 3. The rest, we have some custom steps as usual for import the geometry and import the skinning, and the naming rules that are slightly edited for the join structure. Okay, so let's build the rig. Okay, so we have the rig built here, and I'm just gonna hide this. And one important detail here, we want to have the geometry root under the rig. That's something that we need to review on the FBX exporter, but right now he expects to have the geometry root under the rig. Okay, so we have the rig here. Let's do a quick test. Hello, so it's working. We have the skinning. And now that I have this, I just want to save a version here. So I'm just gonna save as. And here where I have this workflow start, I'm just gonna call this build, for instance, build rig. Okay, so I know this one is the one that has the rig build. Okay, for the moment, we don't need the guide anymore. So I'm just gonna delete the guide. And the first thing I want to do here, it's before I continue, I want to add some RBF for the apron here, just a simple one. So I'm just gonna go here, right click, change to FK in both legs. Change to FK. And on the Rebits RBF Manager 2, we're gonna open the RBF Manager. As you can see here, this is something new that's gonna be in the next release that it's coming just a few days after, like next week after this video is released. You can see here we have the mGear weight driver. So we have now two weight drivers, the old one and the new one that actually has the old kernel. So I'm just gonna use this one. And I'm just gonna do a quick configuration here. So select my control, select the joint, set here. So I have this joint, okay. So now I want to select this control here, set, and I'm just gonna use the rotation of this to rotate these ones and add a new pose here. I'm just gonna do the same for this one. So again, just set here this one and rotate, translate, add the new driver. So we have the two drivers here. And I'm just gonna move now the leg. I'm just gonna do a couple of poses. So just want this pose, just want to hide my joints here, so I'm not selecting constantly the joints. So I'm just gonna adjust it a little bit, add pose there. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And now just gonna use this one. So just gonna add this one. Okay, so we have a couple of poses there. Can test now. This is working as expected. Maybe I want to do third one there, just to help a little bit this in between. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm just gonna save incremental here just in case. So we have this one here, and I'm just gonna mirror And this is a custom naming, so I'm not sure now mirroring. Yeah, it's working as expected. Yeah, perfect. So I was a bit afraid, like maybe because custom naming, this sometimes, but no, it's working perfectly. Okay, so we have now the rig ready. I'm just gonna save here. I'm just gonna leave it again on the IK by default and just save again. Okay, so we have that. So we're gonna use this rig now. And first, what we want to do is prepare the skeletal mesh. Okay, so to prepare the skeletal mesh, we can go to the mGear shifter FBX exporter. So we have here the FBX exporter, and we're gonna select the georoot here. We're not gonna use the partitions right now. We're gonna use it in a little, so I'm just gonna deactivate that. The join root, I'm just gonna click auto, so it's detecting that the root is here. And now here we have the directory path where we want to save this. So in this case, I want to save it here on the project FBX folder that I have previously created. And then I'm gonna call bboy. Now I need to activate the Unreal Engine import checkbox here. And I already have launched my Unreal Engine here with the ueGear plugin installed, so you can see it because the menu is there. So here we can set in which directory we want to import the skeletal mesh. So in this case, I'm just gonna come here, create a new folder, call it bboy, and selecting the folder here, not here, it's important, not selecting on the outliner here, just select it there, go here and click here. There is a bug in Unreal 5.5 that it doesn't work. It's a bug, it's a real bug. So we have checked that in Unreal 5.6, it's going to be fixed. I'm using 5.4 for this demo, so there is no problem. But you can see here now we have this bboy like folder there. So we have the name, we have everything. So with that, we are all set. We just need to export. So it's going to export the skeletal mesh. And notice here important detail. Normally in other classic workflows for games or for render like Unreal workflows, you have to separate the geometry and the rig, maybe delete the rig. We have a tool that does that here. That is called this game tool, disconnect to assembly or delete rig and keep joints. But we're not going to use it here. We don't need it. We're going to export this. And what is doing the tool, it's going to spawn a headless Maya session, and it's going to clean up for you the rig. So we don't need to do any extra work. We have the rigs, we export the skeletal mesh. Nothing to worry there. So exporting the FBX, it's doing some processing there. And if we go back here, well, it's giving some warnings here, but that's okay. But the important thing is right now we have our bboy skeleton and the skeletal mesh ready to be used. So we can see here, that's perfect. We have all the bones there, or skinning, everything is there, perfect. Okay, let's take all this, let's save it. Cool. So we have the skeletal mesh here. But let's say if we are having a games workflow where we want to do partitions for the rig. So we want, for instance, here on this character, you can activate partition, and we want to separate, for instance, in different partitions. We're gonna use, for instance, one that is called weapon, and we're gonna drag and drop the knife here. And the master partition is gonna be called master always, but we can remove all the objects from there, so there is no partition with that. Let's call another that it's called, for instance, head. And on the head, I'm gonna add the eyes, the head, and the hair. This goes there. And last, we have this tree that is gonna be the master. But we're gonna add another one that is called body, and we're gonna drag and drop all this to the body. There we go. So master is technically deactivated. As you can see, we don't see any skeleton here. In order to refresh this list, just check and uncheck. And one important note, we don't check if we have more than one session open. So it's important to have only one session of Unreal open so it doesn't get mistaken. So you can see here now, I want to export this. I'm going to use this skeleton. So here, when I import all my new skeletal meshes, I'm going to use this skeletal definition that I have already with all the elements here. And in this case, I want just to create this one. And the most important thing is we can also cool the joints. Cool the joints means that we're going to remove from each skeletal mesh all the joints that are not needed for that object. For instance, the knife will have only the root plus one skeletal, one joint that is the skinning, and so on. Okay, so we have that. I'm just going to click export here. It's going to process. It's opening a little window here, a terminal with information, and I'm just going to have coffee. It's cleaning all the data. And if we check on Unreal, we have some information, some warnings there. But as you can see here, now we have the body, the head, and the weapon. So we have created 3 different partitions, but all 3 are on the same skeleton definition. So we go here, or B-boy that has all the elements, but also we have all the other elements, head, and so on. Obviously here we have all the skeleton, but if we check here, for instance, well, basically this was, because probably it has some influence here, but if you check the weapon here, you can see it clean up everything that is not part of the weapon. Perfect. So we have now these parts. Just gonna save all. Save. It's important. An important thing here, obviously this, we can save the configuration. It stays on the scene for later use. We're gonna use it later for the animation. So I'm just gonna close this for a moment. And let's process the animation by applying some motion capture. In this case, I want to apply one of the motion captures that we have from the library in Maya. So Window, Content Browser, and the animation, motion capture, FBX. I want to use this one that is called the door slam. But first, I want just to map the character. So in order to do that, we're going to use our mGear Human IK Mapper. And in VIPs, we can load it from here, or also from mockup tools here is the same. It's just as to access to the same tool. Perfect. So now that we have the tool open here, we're going to initialize that. So I'm just going to select this, initialize. In the moment we initialize, you see it's opening the Human IK here, and it's setting that. Okay, just forgot. I need to put this in a T-pose. And now you're gonna start using the step-by-step, all the elements. Right-click here. Okay, so here we have this X-ray, so we can see what we are selecting. I need to check out why it's not showing out here, but you can see it should be showing always this from each control. Anyway, that's a little tangent here. Okay, so the head, if you click, it's gonna tell you, I need the head, the neck, base, 1, 2, 3. So first the head, I'm just gonna, for instance, use this one, the FK, and then I want to use the base and this one, confirm. Now the right arm, so left arm, so it asks first for the shoulder, so I'm just like shoulder, arm, forearm, wrist, or arm, confirm. Here it's asking that this controls has some channels lock. That's something that the Human IK map doesn't like it, so we confirm, and it's going to lock the channels for us. It's giving us this yellow because it says it's not perfectly symmetrical, but that's okay. The other thing that does is applies a mirror, so we do one side and it gets applied to the other. Okay, so we have the head, the arms. Let's do the spine. I'm not going to do the arm, the finger, sorry. I'm going to select this, that is the body, the base, the hips, and then I've used the FK. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Confirm. Again, the menu here popping saying there is one lock, no problem. And now for the legs, gonna pass to FK, and again, so I can select before or after if I know the order. You can see, and the toes is this one. Confirm, confirm. Okay, so I have the mapping done. We can also map the IK elements. So if we refresh here, we can set references, and it's gonna map the IK reference and so on. I'm not gonna do it for this demo. I'm just gonna use the FK for the demo, because the purpose here is just to show you the workflow. So this is kind of like an extra. Okay, so I'm just gonna log here, and I'm just gonna save a version just in case. So we jump one version here, and now going back to the browser, I'm just gonna open the door slam. Just gonna import here, and oh, before let me check this to 30 FPS, just in case I'm bringing back door slam. Probably not needed, but just in case. Okay, so now we have door slam, I guess, at 3. Okay, I'm gonna close this, close there. So we have this character that is very angry and slams the door, walks. Okay, so we have this animation. Let's bake it. In this case, I'm just gonna use the bake here. So bake to skeleton. In this case, we are baking to the control, the mGear controls, but we say the skeleton. It's gonna bake all, and we have it baked now. So you can see this not needed anymore. So I'm just gonna delete it, and you can see the animation is there. So this is what we want. Just gonna save another version just in case, and we have our animation here. Okay, cool. So we have animation. Let's get our FBX exporter again. And now we go to the animation tab here, and we want to add a clip. This clip we're gonna call our door slam. Oops, I'll not slam. Good. We're not gonna use any layer here, but we can use one if we want later. Okay, so that's it. We can refresh that if we want. We have this there, door slam. It's gonna do the bake from 0 to 148. That is the animation range, basically there. Okay, cool. So now that we have that, let's click export. It's exporting, and it's going to be added here. So let's go back to our. We have some fail here because the import frame rate. It's let's see what's 24 frames. I thought I changed it before. Probably I did something wrong on the baking. Okay, let's export it again. And now looks like the error, it's gone, and we have our animation here. We can open the VBoy or maybe the skeleton to check the animation. So the preview mesh is this one, and the animation it's here. And you can see the animation, it's working as expected. Okay, perfect. So we have the animation, we have everything exported. Now what we want is to set up a level with a sequencer. So to do that, I'm just gonna go here and maybe inside VBoy, and I'm just gonna create a new cinematic sequence. So we go here to cinematics, and I'm gonna create like level sequence here. So we have this level sequence. So now we can, for instance, in our level that we have here, let's bring this character here, and here on the general, one thing I want to be sure that I'm doing is to ensure that these values are 0, 0, 0. So where's the character now? Here we go, here. Because I want to have the same reference that I have here. Here started at 0, here started at 0. So we have a matching, because when I did the drag and drop, it was somewhere in the space. So when we start working with the cameras and so on, obviously it's going to be an offset, and we don't want that. Okay, so we have the character here. So I'm just going to drag and drop the character. And now that I have the character, here it's at the animation. Okay, cool. So we have the animation there. Perfect. Nice. So we have that. Okay, now that we have our character here slamming doors on Unreal, let's say I'm doing this a little bit in the other way around, probably you will have the level first set, but in this case, because I'm doing everything in the wrong direction, I'm just gonna grab here some props from, well, I have a door, I have a chair. Just for the example, I just want to put the chair here, just place it there. Oops, come on. Let's see if I can rotate it there. I guess so. Let me see in the sequence. So it's there, slamming the door, and maybe he's looking here, and he's looking for his chair, and he's gonna do something after that. Okay, so let's say this is the acting. Okay, but I want to do this animation in Maya. Okay, cool. So you want to, oh, wait a second. Let's create a new camera. Okay, so I have my camera here, and I know this camera is terrible, but let's say this is the camera I want to have here. Okay, so I have now my camera, my animation, everything, and I want to keep editing in Maya. I want to keep editing my animation here. Okay, so the first thing we can do now is, if we check here on the ueGear menu, we have some options here to import and export data. The server is on Unreal, so we need to send the commands from Maya. So send me this or receive this in this case. So what I want to do here is import some elements from here to here. So the first I want to import, it's maybe some of these landscape elements. Actually, these are proxies. Import selected assets from level. Yeah, it doesn't like it because these are proxies. So, but I want to import the chair. That is the most important thing. So select the chair. That's static mesh. That's important. It needs to be a static mesh. And import asset from Unreal. And now I have my chair here. Okay, so the chair is here. We don't take care of the shaders, so probably you want to add your own shader here, or your pipeline maybe supports to just a lambda or something like that. Okay, so we have that. So, but you can see here the reference, it's good for positions and everything, and the camera. So I'm just gonna select the camera and also import selected camera from sequence. And I have my camera there. Just go there, and you can see here, I have my camera and I have my camera. And if we check the ratios and everything, you can see here, it's matching. Let's see if I can, well, you can see here with the different color and maybe the save action, so you can see they're better. So now you have synchronized your sequencer camera with your character here. Okay, let's say I want to do some animation on the camera. Let's talk about how to update the camera from Maya to Unreal. There is a little caveat here that need to be aware, is how you resample the camera. So if we do, right now we have this animation here. See, and maybe I want to do here, so the animation is the same, but let's say I do this animation now where I have this middle keyframe there, and maybe do another like this, so some random movement there. Pretty bad actually, but it's gonna, I think, get us to the point. So if I update now and export, I don't have the resample here also, I just export. And now what I get, a few keyframes there, you see? And a few keyframes there, but there is nothing properly updated. That's because we need to resample when we export. So I'm just gonna export one more time. Just gonna resample all, so export. And now we have our super funky animation. Obviously this is not correct, but you can see here the big difference. So very important when we export, just resample the camera. So in this case, I'm just gonna delete this keyframe. So we have again this much more cleaner animation. And if I update this camera now, but I don't resample, just for the example, nothing happened because we have all this. So if I update again, just check resample, it's gonna resample every single frame, and we have back our keyframes clean added as we have on Maya. Perfect. So we have camera animation going back and forward. We have the way to update our animation from Maya, the way to update the elements. Oh, by the way, let's say we take this chair and for some reason we want to move the chair here. So we can do that. We can update the static meshes on the level. So if I update here, so it's gonna be there. So in this case, I think the rotation it's not correct. Oh, sorry, this one. Yeah. So the animation it's not been properly propagated. But you can see you can update a little bit what you have here, static meshes. So no, don't animate the static meshes. That's important. Okay. So we have there. And now it's crossing. Let me try to move it here. Update again. And insist that he wants to rotate it there, but he moved it there. So we'll check on that. But you can see this is the normal workflow that we should have. Okay, the other thing, okay, let me. Okay. Last thing we want to do is to edit the animation inside Unreal. To do that, we need a control rig, but we have that part covered because we can regenerate the control rigs from the data that we already extracted when we generated our rig in Maya. So to do that, I'm just going to go here, go back to my B-Boy, and open this window here that we have this menu where we have the control rig name. So I'm just going to call it control rig B-Boy. Destination folder, again, we need to select the destination folder from this area here. So in this case, content, B-Boy, select there. It's not gonna recognize it if we select it from here. The path for the GMX file that I already have prepared. So it's well, basically it's here. It's called the 3, version 3, and skeleton. Obviously, we want to use our B-Boy skeleton. That's the one that is complete. We have this option that it will generate the controls using the spawn system with on the build solve part, but this doesn't allow us to edit the controls after the fact by hand. So what we want to do here, it's just keep this unchecked, and this it's a bit slower than, well, not a bit, quite slower compared to this one, but the reason is because we are calculating all the volumes and trying to adjust based on what control shape volume you had. So we're going to generate that. Okay, so it finished and we have our control rig ready to go. Just gonna double check what we have on the control rig. So you can see here the nodes are a bit busy. That's because it's procedurally generated. But if you check, it's all with this nice information here, documentation, where it says which part is which part. So we can see each element has its own, like meta, the pinky, the legs, everything has its own part here where we have the construction event, the forward event, and the backwards event, so we can use it on layers. We can also check here if everything is working as it should be. So here, because it's configured to use the IK, let's go here and go back to our sequence. So what we can do now here, it's add a layered control rig. So we add layered, and here we have our control rig B-Boy. And as you can see here, legs are working, but not the arms. And it's the same reason, because we need to set this to FK here. And yeah, we have now our rig ready to edit. So we now can start editing your animation with everything in place. Okay, so that's all for this demo. I hope it's useful for you. And please let me know in the comments or in the forum if you find any issues, and if you have any suggestions, it's always welcome. Okay, so have a nice day. Happy rigging. Bye-bye.